Hiya, it's Gaz here from Moth Creaturae. I thought I'd just do this very quick video here while I was finishing off this desk, right? On one of the previous videos I mentioned about how important it is to have the right tool for the job. We can make do, you know, we can always like sort of have workarounds. Christ, when, now I'm not illiterate, but sometimes I might know big words, but since I've had like a smartphone, me kind of memory, short-term memory's appalling, you know, and spelling, I tell you what, I'm atrocious at spelling. So while I might try to set out to write something that sounds quite articulate, quite you know, interesting, I end up writing stuff like a cat sat on a mat because I can't think of the correct word to fucking use and I can't think of how to spell it. So, you know, but the same can be said with tools. We end up setting out to do a job, and if we use the right tools, that job, we could realise sort of the aspiration we have for that job. We could get it to just as, you know, good, if not better, than what we actually wanted it. And it's hard doing that. It's still achievable, but it's hard doing that when we don't have the right tool for the job. You know, using a Leatherman or a bloody set of pliers to tighten up a bolt. Yeah, you can do it. How long it's going to last, because you're not going to get it the right torque. It's a different kettle of fish, and you're going to end up damaging the bolt in the process and all this type of crack. Anyway, come back to relevant, what we're doing. So you'll see here, right, I've got the metal, all like this one's already done, like the other side. I'm doing this last piece of trim here, and this one's relatively easy. I've done the first lot, and then it was while I was doing it, I thought, you know, I'm going to give a quick heads up on this, about the right tool for the job. Now, I've used over 1,500 rivets. Anyone that's done riveting before knows it's a fucking laborious task, you know, it's shite. Marking it up, punching, centre punching, you know, and then drilling and all this type of crap, and then you go and do it, and the last thing you want is for your tool to start playing up. Now I've got this, you know, it's not shite, little Clark sort of rivet gun, manual one, and it's great, it serves a purpose. I bought it a few years ago when I was fitting a flip down screen in the back of my van, using it old, because I'm a junk man, across the inner structure of my van. I thought, how am I going to secure this to that? And I had an old, you know, the garden aerator things. It was like a box section one, aluminium, and it was thin enough. And I thought, you know what it is? I could cut this down because it was broken. It snapped at its stand. I thought I can use the legs off it, and they'll be sufficient to make a frame to secure to my actual chassis frame, right? And then I can secure the flip down monitor to that. And it was low enough profile that I could do that and then refit the sort of headlining without you noticing that there was any of this skeletal framework behind the scenes actually holding it in place. So it looks like the TV monitor is just hanging from the interior liner. So that's how I work things around, you know, that's how my brain works. Anyway, I needed to use rivets. I certainly don't want to be bolting, I didn't want to be welding. I hadn't learned to weld at that point, so I thought rivets would be ideal because less mess, you know, and you know it's there, it's fixed, solid. So I drilled the areas that I wanted to use and I riveted. So I bought one of these, and you know, for putting in like kind of 20 rivets or something, it's ideal. Cheap tool, 20 quid or whatever they are, 30 quid. Cheap tool, that's a useful thing to have in your toolbox. Fucking hell. I started doing this headboard and I looked at the enormity of the task, like sort of 1,500 rivets in a headboard. That's nuts. And I started doing it with this. And I'd maybe get about, say 50 done in one sitting. And the reason it was taking us so long, it wasn't because I just quit on shit. It's because what you do with these, and I'll show you here now, but you put the rivet in there, you keep on tightening it up, and eventually what happens is the tiny little jaws in there will pull and pull and pull until it pulls the bottom of the rivet up, which folds the rivet, which causes the sort of tight seal, which keeps the two things bonded together, stuck together, and then it snaps off the inner part of the rivet, which is the metal, and then it is supposed to pop out there. Anyone that's used these knows that these are bloody prone to jamming the block, so they'll do what you want it to do, but then they don't come out. So then you have to unscrew the back, take the spring out, take the jaws out, take the front off, just to get this bit out, put it all back together to do. So one rivet ultimately takes about, if you're slick with your drills, 5 minutes. Imagine that, 1,500 rivets. I'll still be here, man, until I've got no hair on my head. So I figured the best thing I need to do is I need to invest in another tool. And hang on, I'm just going to prop you up here against my drill. There we go. So I bought this, I looked, and there's loads. I do love Makita stuff, I'm a right Makita slag. There's some fantastic brands out there, but just I kind of like the colour. But I went with this one. It's called Energy Tech or something, right? I think it's a German company, I'm not sure, might be wrong. But anyway, the reason I went with this one, after reading all the reviews on Amazon, there's loads out there, and I kind of had in mind what I wanted to spend. I like investing in tools that I don't have to replace, so I will spend the money on tools. But the Makita branded ones were like £750 and I thought, that's no bueno, that's not going to happen. And then there was other tools that were like adaptations, so it'd be like the front part which would fit on your own drill, and they're like sort of lower end, sort of 20 quids, and it would serve a purpose, it would do what it's supposed to do. But it's kind of trying to make use of something, and what I find is something that's kind of not set out specifically for one thing isn't going to be great at doing another thing. So my drill is meant to be a drill. I didn't want to risk spending 20 quid, it's only 20 quid, but I didn't want to risk doing that in case it just ended up being shite and I ended up having to rebuy something else. So I looked at middle market, like sort of, and I think this was about 130 quid or something. It didn't come with a battery, which was about like, oh fucking hell, I have to buy a battery and a charge and stuff. But the main thing about this one was it fits me Makita batteries. So me drill and me sort of impact driver and stuff, I can just use one of my spare batteries, 18 5 amps, you know, the decent batteries, and use one of these on here. It's got different settings, so depending on the length of your rivet, you know, you can adjust the amount of pull it has and then the amount of eject time it has. But it does everything for you. It doesn't drill the holes and put them in, but it does exactly what it's supposed to do, and then it ejects it. And I tell you what, it's never failed once, not once, 1500. And doing what I said before, like one rivet was taking me 5 minutes with the other one. In 5 minutes, I'd pretty much knock out about 20 rivets with this. So you can imagine the time-saving device this has become. For 130 quid, mint. So I'm going to show you the old one, see how it works. For those of you that haven't used riv guns before. So, literally, put it on your rivet, you've got that in place, put the right, already it's a ball ache, unscrew that a bit so the jaw's less tight in this centre. Okay, now it's on. Right, it's done it, same problem. Oh, I got that one out, but that one worked, jinx. That was a seamless one, right, imagine that, and that was, whereas this, now the finished piece, there's no difference, but that 130 quid has saved me genuinely weeks of riveting. Yeah, so anyway, I just want to give you a little heads up on that, right? So invest in your tools, and when you're skint, don't sell your tools, sell your shite like your Xbox and stuff like that, because your tools will always be able to work for you, you know. Right, anyway, till next time, take care, bye.